During the middle of the 20th century, it seemed you couldn't walk into a single establishment without seeing a familiar red and chrome machine with a glass dome packed with colored balls in every color of the rainbow. Who was putting them there? Where did they come from? And when is the last time you remember even buying a gumball from a machine, let alone seeing one in person? The rise of cashless vending machines has made operating a classic candy container of yesteryear a losing battle. Has the gumball industry bubble popped for good, or is it sticking around like gum on a shoe? Well, today we're bursting the bubble on the death of the gumball machine. But before we gum up the works, why don't you pop on by the subscribe button? Then head down to the comments and let us know what other classic confectionaries you want to hear about. For now, does anyone have a quarter I can borrow? Chewing gum, whether it be in the form of a ball, stick, square, or chewing tobacco, is a very old tradition. The ancient Greeks, the Mayans, and Native Americans all partook in some form of chewing gum, though those early forms didn't have names like Hubba Bubba or Bazooka Joe, and almost certainly no comic strip included. For much of history, gum came from nature in the form of tree resin or sap. After thousands of years of the same boring old treat, Ohio dentist Dr. William F. Semple ironically decided we deserved better. In 1868, he patented the first chewing gum formula with an eye on commercial production. The upgrade was a smashing success, paving the way for significant leaps in gum's evolution by 1928. Meanwhile, an accountant for the Fleer Corporation named Walter Deemer, whose usual forte was trading cards, had gotten his hands on the formula for an earlier gum recipe with the delightful name of Blibber Blubber. By refining this recipe, he was able to create the very first successful bubblegum, Double Bubble. To set his gum aside from the rest, he used red dye, the only color accessible at the time, which, when diluted, gave bubblegum its signature pink color. Early chewing gum could best be described as a wad, a bite-sized shape you could pop into your mouth. But to learn how it evolved into ball form, we would have to talk about exiled Mexican President Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna. While in the U.S., Santa Anna's American secretary was a man named Thomas Adams, whose job included, among other things, procuring the natural chicle gum that the president was fond of chewing. Adams wanted to use the chicle to produce rubber for tires, but when that fledgling enterprise failed, Adams pivoted to chewing gum instead. Please note that while tires are technically chewy, you cannot blow bubbles with them. He gave the first batch the catchy name of Adams's New York Gum No. 1, which was sold as small tissue-wrapped spears. By 1907, the newly established Adams, Sons & Company had developed the first gum-producing vending machines to hawk their bubblegum and licorice. This is when the classic candy-coated gumball we associate with modern gum debuted out of simple necessity, the outer shell enabling the candy to maintain its quality and resist spoilage while waiting to be chosen from the machine. In the days before refrigeration, shelf life was extremely important, and a candy-coated gumball could patiently wait inside that princely glass dome until finally being selected. Or at least, that's what we used to think. More on that later. One of the early players in the 20th century chewing gum game was Ford Gum and Machine Company, which was founded in 1913 by 20-year-old salesman Ford Mason. Mason had leased a bunch of these newfangled vending machines to dispense gumballs, but was concerned by the poor reputation and unreliability of the current machines. He thought the gum was low quality, too, all of which added up to poor customer retention. In other words, not many people were making second trips to these machines. Working with his father, Mason developed a more dependable design, and by 1917, Ford Gum and Machine began manufacturing a new wave of quality gumball dispensers. If you manage to find a gumball machine in the wild today, there's good odds it will be proudly displaying the Ford logo. Mason also spearheaded the initiative of selling penny machines to charities, splitting the profits to fund community initiatives for local nonprofits, making him a major player in philanthropy. Ronald Reagan even endorsed the Ford brand of machines in a speech about service organizations. Ford was eventually sold to Leaf Brands in 1985 and later to Hershey in 1996 before regaining their independence in 1997. They're still in business today and are the current proud owners of Big League Chew. Man, why can't we put that in a gumball machine? Oh, right, that's why. Though one might associate gumballs with the glass-domed metal machines that dispensed them, vending machines have been around longer than you might expect, And by that, we mean there's evidence of coin-operated dispensers from roughly 2,000 years ago. First century Roman Egypt saw a proto-vending machine that dispensed holy water or wine when a coin was inserted. But if it eats your money, the emperor will not be refunding you. Vending technology stalled for a few centuries before being revisited in 17th century England, when coin-operated tobacco dispensers were introduced. By 1880, vending machines were used all throughout England to sell postcards, stamps, and books, so you could get everything you needed to mail the new Sherlock Holmes to your mother. But it wasn't until 1888 that the United States saw its first commercial use of vending machines via our old friends at Thomas Adams Gum Company. He was the tire guy, remember? Adams had installed several coin-operated machines on New York City train platforms in order to peddle their Tutti Frutti gum, exposing America to the first of what would be many vending innovations throughout the next century. By 1897, the Pulver Manufacturing Company had seen the success of these machines and decided to one-up the process by adding entertainment features such as small, animated character figurines who would deliver the piece of candy right to you. Before Netflix, people watched Gumball machines. Thomas Adams' plan to fit New York City train platforms was not only a considerable success for the Ford Gum and Machine Company, but these so-called silent salesmen assisted in turning gumballs, formerly just a novelty, into a widely consumed treat for a low cost. The 1920s saw businesses and customers alike getting serious about gumball machines, with more and more popping up in more and more locations. Folks would drop in their penny or dime into a Ford or Northwestern Corporation gumball machine and chew their worries away. And with the Great Depression on the horizon, cheap candies were a precious commodity. Ford Gum and Machine continued to shape the gumball vending industry for the years to come. By the mid-20th century, you could find Ford-branded gumball machines just about everywhere. They even procured 2 DC-3 transport planes to speed up deliveries during wartime when supplies were short. Gum was that serious of a business. Their recognizable carousel-style gumball became a staple in stores all over the country, as Ford continued to extend their vending routes and solicit out their machines to local operators. This not only expanded Ford's small-scale operation to a larger industry, but it made the gumball explode with popularity in the process. When the Great Depression finally hit, Ford was able to keep afloat due to how inexpensive his treats were. At only a few cents each when bought in bulk, they were the perfect recession-proof snack. By the 1950s and 60s, you couldn't make a stop in any drugstore, supermarket, or movie theater without seeing a gumball machine. In addition to Ford, Northwestern 60, Toy & Joy, Victor, and Oak Acorn had all become heavy hitters in the gumball machine game. These machines offered anything from gumballs to M&Ms, peanuts, or even Good and Plenty. Gumballs in particular were the most attractive option, as they could be bought for pennies but sold for a high markup, and also had the benefit of a long shelf life and low operating costs. This was in stark contrast to the electricity-dependent soft drink or snack dispensers that also saw a rise in popularity during this time. The 1980s only saw gumball machines soar to new heights. With the advent of video arcades, kids were not only frequenting their local shopping malls more often, but their pockets were chock full of quarters, just begging to be used for a quick sugar fix. Around this time, bulk vending also came into style, with most of the machines owned and operated by Ford or Oak Acorn Manufacturing Company. Several machines all attached to one apparatus could contain everything from gumballs, large and small, stickers, bouncy balls, and even toys. If you grew up watching Saturday morning cartoons, you've probably sunk more than a few coins into one of those things. In Japan, the rise of the gumball machine in the 1960s gave birth to the gashapon toy vending machines, which remain popular there to this day. While the basic design of the gumball machine has remained largely unchanged, its popularity in pop culture has also allowed the mechanics to update their appearance when the situation calls for it. When Blockbuster Video opened their doors, they not only knew that gumballs paired beautifully with home video browsing, but understood that kids were their most frequent customers. So the folks in charge debuted the tall, blue, iconic Blockbuster-branded gumball machine, complete with a spiral ramp where you could watch the ball roll all the way down. Believe it or not, the Blockbuster machines are now coveted by collectors all over the world. For those who loved the thrill of the ball but hated leaving the house, You could buy your very own gumball machine and fill it with whatever you like. Production companies also got in on the personal gumball dispenser game by offering branded machines for movie characters like Batman, Mickey Mouse, Ghostbusters, Star Wars, and even 1998's Godzilla. And if you're a fan of Mystery Science Theater 3000, you might have noticed that the wisecracking robot Tom Servo is cobbled together from spare parts and a gumball machine. Gumball machines' profitability and time in the spotlight have dwindled significantly in the past 100 years or so, like the flavor in a gumball you've been chewing for too long. Remember earlier when we mentioned the gumball's long shelf life? The gum's longevity began to work against it, as increased health and hygiene concerns made people start to realize that it's pretty hard to tell how old a particular gumball might be, let alone how long it's been since the machine itself was cleaned. Other shifting consumer habits and a largely cashless society have all contributed to a steep decline in gumball machines across the globe. Aside from smartphones largely replacing coins in pockets, most modern folks opt to spend their calories on something that hasn't been sitting in a glass ball for God knows how long. Especially when online distributors can roll hundreds of fresh gumballs right to your front door for less than $30. Increased operational costs also play a role, since only a few specialty companies even know how to repair the old machines. And when COVID-19 burst into the scene, the gumball machine industry saw a dramatic plunge in foot traffic, resulting in around a 75% sales dip. Many of the classic penny machines have disappeared. Those remaining are still being produced by Ford Gum, the only major gumball manufacturer in the U.S. While the vending machine industry still boasts over $100 billion today with no sign of slowing down, only a tiny part of that involves classic gumball machines. Maybe it's time to get cracking on those big league chew machines. So what do you think? Have you ever used a gumball machine? Let us know in the comments below, and while you're there, check out some more of these weird history food videos.